We'll be going over IRS Form 1098-T, tuition statement. So this Form 1098 is issued by educational institutions to taxpayers who have made payments for qualified tuition and related expenses. And taxpayers can use this form when they're completing IRS Form 8863 to claim either the American Opportunity Tax Credit or the Lifetime Learning Credit, which results in a dollar-for-dollar tax credit on the applicable tax return. So in this video, we're going to go through this Form 1098-T, kind of cover some of the main points of this and how you would use the information here to go about claiming that education tax credit. So on the left-hand side of the form, you should see the information for both the filer, which would in most circumstances is the educational institution, and then also your taxpayer ID number, so as the student. So in this case, in the case of John Doe, we have Acme University, we have their address and phone number, we have their complete employer identification number. This number is never truncated when it's the institution that's filing this form. In the taxpayer ID number for the student, however, you'll likely see a truncated form of your social security number, your individual taxpayer ID number, your adoption taxpayer ID number, but in copy A, which is the form that goes to the IRS, this will never be truncated. It'll be your complete tax reporting information. So there are three versions to this form, or three copies. The first goes to the IRS. Copy B should be for you as the student, and then copy C is retained by the educational institution. Now, following this, you should see your name and address, and then below this, you'll see something called service provider and account information. So if you have an account number, you might see that. If there's an additional office that you are supposed to contact for further guidance, you might see that information here. The IRS requires an account number be listed only in circumstances where the same institution is issuing more than one Form 1098-T to the same person. So if I was a student and I was paying for my own tuition and then someone else's tuition, then I might have two different accounts, and I would see each account listed on separately on two different forms of versions of the Form 1098-T. Otherwise, the IRS recommends that each college enters an account number, but does not require them to. So you also see block 8 here. We'll get to that momentarily, but we're going to go ahead and go through each of these in order. So at the very top, you'll see in box 1, this is the total payments that were received for qualified tuition and related expenses. The IRS actually has some very specific detailed information about what is considered to be a qualified education expense, qualified tuition, and all of that has to do with exactly what your money is going to. So we're going to take a step back here, and we're going to clearly define first what an eligible educational institution is, because the way the tax credits work is that you have to have paid your tuition to an eligible education institution, which is a college, university, vocational school, or other post-secondary educational institution that is eligible to participate in the Department of Education student aid programs. So most likely, uh, the college that is issuing your Form 1098T meets those requirements. However, every once in a while you hear about colleges that aren't accredited, where taxpayers don't know the difference, and as a result, they get defrauded, at, or at the very least, they're not able to take this tax deduction. Now, probably the more difficult concept is the qualified tuition and related expenses. So you pay a lot of different types of fees, charges. Qualified tuition and related expenses are specifically defined by the IRS as tuition, required fees, and course materials that a student needs to be enrolled at or to attend their eligible educational institution. Specifically, any amounts that are paid for sports, games, or hobbies are not considered to be qualified tuition unless the course or other education is part of the degree program or is taken to acquire or improve job skills. So if you paid sports fees or some sort of program fees related to an extracurricular activity, that's not going to be included here unless for some reason that was also a requirement for your degree. And then the second thing, and probably the most notable thing, is that this is not going to include things like room and board, insurance, medical expenses, even student health fees are not considered qualified tuition and related expenses. Transportation, other living expenses, family expenses. So you're going to see an amount reported to you in line 1 that probably does not correspond with what you believe you paid. So in this instance, we paid $10,000 during the year. That doesn't mean that that's all John Doe paid for school. That just means that's the amount of that the financial institution is reporting in terms of qualified tuition and other related expenses. So in blocks 2 and 3, they're reserved for future use. In block 4, you see a space titled Adjustments Made for a Prior Year. This simply means that if the college made an adjustment for a prior year for qualified tuition, then this is where it's going to make that adjustment. That adjustment might reduce the allowable education credit that you claim for the prior year. So if for some reason you took a deduction based on the fact that you were reported a certain amount of money, and then you have an adjustment in the next year's tuition statement, you may need to go back to what is called recapture that that change. So if you need to do that, IRS Publication 970 has a couple of examples of how you would recapture that education credit and then recalculate any deductions, specifically if you needed to recapture either the American Opportunity Tax Credit or the Lifetime Learning Credit, to go back and recalculate the amount of your tax credit that you took in the year. There are some instances where maybe you paid way more than was required, and so your adjustment doesn't really affect the actual credit, but in each instance, you should still go back to do the calculation because that might throw you off. In box 5, it lists any scholarships or grants that were administered and processed by the college on your behalf. So this might also reduce the amount of education credit. So you'll see a recurring theme here. There are lots of different federal tax credits that may be available for education-related purposes. Not just credits, but programs, benefits, things of that nature. So you may be able to claim a tax credit. You may be able to take an above-the-line or tax deduction for student loan interest. that you paid during the course of the year. That would be on Schedule 1 of your tax return. You may have tax-free scholarships or grants. You may have tax-free withdrawals from your 529 plan or your Coverdell Education Savings Account. But the common theme is that the IRS is not going to allow you to double dip. So, for example, if you paid $10,000 in qualified tuition, and then in addition, uh, you know, included in that $10,000 payment was $2,000 worth of scholarships, then you can't use that $2,000 worth of scholarships uh, in your calculations for either the education credits or anything else. So you would have to basically reduce the amount of payments that you sent by the amount of scholarships that they received. In box 6, this is an adjustment to scholarships or grants for a prior year. So again, this might also impact your credits if this is a significant amount. In box 7, this would be checked if this box 1 amount also includes anything that you paid for the following tax year, so January through March of 2024 for the 2023 tax year. And again, IRS Publication 970 has additional information on how you would report that in your tax return and under what circumstances you would be able to claim a credit or some other tax benefit. Box 8 and box 9 are simply checked. So box 8, if you're at least enrolled half-time as a student towards some sort of degree or certificate program, then that box will be checked. And this is an important requirement for the qualification of some of these tax benefits, is that you have to be enrolled at least half-time. So this kind of checks the box. It also informs the IRS that you may be applying for a tax benefit based on that. Box 9 is checked if this is for a graduate student, and then there are certain changes in program availabilities based on that. For example, the American Opportunity Tax Credit is only available for the first 4 years of education. So if you've used that for 4 years of your bachelor degree and now you're a graduate student, you're no longer able to take the American Opportunity Tax Credit. You may have to take the Lifetime Learning Credit instead. And then box 10 is the amount of reimbursements or refunds that may have been made by an insurer. So this probably won't come up too often, but if it does, you're probably going to know the reason why. And this also may reduce the availability of an education tax credit. So that's all we have for Form 1098-T in terms of how to read this form and understand it. We will put links in the show notes to other forms that we mentioned in this video, specifically IRS Form 8863, as well as other videos that may cover education-related expenses. So if you want to read about this, we've created an article as an accompaniment. Simply go to the link in the show notes, or you can go to our website. Type in teachmepersonalfinance.com, and once the website shows up, you can type in IRS Form 1098-T in the search bar, and you should see our article appear. If you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter, and if you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions or comments, please post them in the show notes. Thank you very much and have a great day.